What's up? Making a video real quick about my experiences as a black man attending the University of South Dakota here in Vermillion. Why? Because I got nothing to lose and somebody else who might be similar to me, considering moving here, might have something to gain from my experience. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into it. Well, obviously I'm a very famous person. Perhaps you've heard of me and seen me in movies like The Avengers, Blood Diamond, and Blade. Obviously, I'm not any of those guys. What I am is basically just a regular guy trying to attend school full time so I can better my life and help out the people I care about. I'm attending the University of South Dakota full time. My background, military, emergency medical services, and other stuff that we won't get into. My hobbies, being outdoors, some martial arts, and I really love food. So yeah, if I text you back late and I tell you it's because I was eating, I was eating. Stop being a drama queen. As far as I know, I'm from Earth. Unless that hospital that I was born in was a cleverly disguised space station and I'm actually a space baby, yeah, I'm pretty much like 87% sure I was born on Earth. I've lived all over, lived in the South, the Deep South, the Midwest, the East Coast, and now I'm back in the Midwest, unfortunately. I've also attended a couple of other universities, both in the South and the Midwest. We'll talk about that a little later and how those experiences tie into my experience now at USD. My experience here in Vermillion has been pretty frustrating. I moved here around 2 years ago, and since then, I would say the vast majority of my interactions with people have been pretty negative. Granted, that's mostly because I interact with the student population, the young population that come from the surrounding areas like Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota, those kind of places. For the record, I could say that most of the Vermillion natives, like the older population specifically, they're really nice people. They seem like decent people, and they are the complete opposite of the students at USD. So let's get that straight. When I'm talking about, well, the majority of what I'm going to be talking about, it's not going to be about the older population. I'm going to be talking about most of my experiences with the students over here. And speaking of the students, well, the majority of them that I've encountered are racist little cowards. When I'm walking around town and whatnot, quite a few occasions, they'll scream racial slurs at me, like while they're driving through and stuff like that, or they'll just say some weird expletive towards me, and then they don't say it towards the next person that's walking in front of me or to the side or anything like that. It's usually targeted towards me, and it's usually a racial slur or some kind of obscenity or profanity. While that doesn't happen every single day, it happens quite often throughout the week. So I can say socially, for me, it's been very isolative. I've tried to make friends over here. Most of them don't want anything to do with me, as opposed to other places that I've been, like when I was down in Florida. Making friends down there and around the university was easy. You just talk to people, you got something in common, and then you're cool with each other. The same thing, oddly enough, when I was in Wyoming. And there's probably like 5 black people in Wyoming, including Kanye West. But yeah, you can have a conversation with people and you can make friends easily over there, or at least I could. But when I get over here, I try the same thing, try to talk to people, try to be a decent person. They don't want anything to do with you. They usually do an awkward, like nervous laugh and then they power walk away. It's very weird. Or they'll just flat out ignore you. That's been my experience with the vast majority of people that I've tried to like reach out and talk to and form relationships with. It doesn't really work all that well here. They're very isolative. They're very exclusive. And like I said, pretty racist too. One thing I noticed is that they seem to do the same thing with other black people. So like if you go downtown to a bar or one of their clubs, I guess you can call it, you'll see it like in those places too. So you'll walk in, it's majority white people, and then like 2 or 3 or 4 black people come in and they come over here. Well, everybody on this side goes to the other side of the place, of the bar, like almost immediately. And then the black people will leave and then they'll come back to that side. And then other black people will come in and they'll go on this side. And then those people will migrate towards the other side immediately or leave. And you'll see that quite commonly. It's very annoying. It is very annoying. Yeah, from my experience, the majority of students over here are definitely race first. I'm pretty sure they're going to argue and say that's not true because I have a black friend whose name I don't know. But their actions thus far, from what I've seen, seem to indicate the exact opposite of what people are saying. Another thing that I've noticed is that when I'm walking around, there are like two like schools for children over here, and they'll be out playing in the parks and whatnot. It seems like every single time that I come over there and I see those kids, the little black boy is always playing by himself. Like everybody else is grouped together having a fun time, and there's always one black kid on both sides, like on both schools, that are just playing by themselves, which seems to me that parents are teaching their kids this racism crap early on. So yeah, it's pretty disturbing, at least for me. Your mileage may vary. For the most part, being a black guy in Vermillion, it's pretty frustrating, pretty socially isolative, and I would say you would probably do well to watch your back around this kind of place, just in case, because you're not really going to have too much backup out here. My experience over here at the University of South Dakota kind of echoes what I see and experience outside of campus. Pretty much everybody withdraws far away from people who don't look like them, so quite a bit of xenophobia. When you go into a classroom for the first time and you try to sit down in a seat, I get there early. I'm usually the first, if not second person in class, and I usually sit towards the front if I can, depending on my situation or position from the door. So every single time, there's always empty seats on both sides of me. Everybody will crowd around each other. Even during social distancing, when you had to sit like a seat away from everybody, yeah, everybody would literally crowd together far away from me. And I'm usually the only black person in that class. So yeah, there's always empty seats around me. They stay far away from me. When you have group work to be done, the group members who are white, they talk amongst themselves and they usually exclude you from the conversation. Once in a while, they'll ask you something like arbitrary, like, hey, what do you think about this? And you'll tell them what you think about that, and then they'll say, okay, don't give you any feedback or anything like that. Yeah, this is in my health sciences classes, so yeah. The overwhelming majority of health sciences classes that I've had tend to follow that same formula. Everybody withdraws far away from me, and they pretty much congregate amongst themselves. The professors here, I could say for the most part they're professional, but you can tell by their body language, which shifts very drastically from their baseline from talking to other people. When I come up and talk to them, it's like night and day. First, they're welcoming, they take a step towards you to hear what you got to say. They've got very neutral, if not friendly body language. And then when I come up and ask a question or share my thoughts about something, you know, they take a tiny step back when I approach them. They usually have some kind of defensive gesture, their hands up here or something like that, or their hands down here. Their tone of voice and the rhythm of their voice, it varies from their baseline, from how I saw them interacting with the other students who aren't big black guys like myself. And that's been my experience with the vast majority of them. Obviously, not all of them exhibit that. A few of them, but I mean a few, I mean like maybe two professors that I remember were actually pretty either indifferent or friendly, or as friendly as they were towards other people, towards me. But yeah, the vast majority of them, no, very uncomfortable around me, very nervous, and their body language, tone of voice, speech kind of shows that. Also, I've had a lot of problems with professors grading me on assignments. I've had professors say that they accidentally superimposed someone else's grade on mine. So basically, when I took an exam, you know, got like a 98, 99 or whatever, they'd enter it as like an 84 or something like that. And then I would always have to come by and ask like, hey, why do I have this grade when it shows on my end that I have this? And then they take a while to respond, and then eventually they have some kind of really vague excuse about how your grade was entered incorrectly or whatnot. That seems to be pretty common, at least with me. I'd always have to check about my grades, which is kind of weird because at the other universities that I've been to, it was never really a problem. I did my assignment, I got my grade that I got was posted. Over here, it seems like I do my assignments, I turn my assignments in on time, I get a 0, and then I have to email and ask, hey, why do I have a 0 for this assignment that I did according to your rubric and submitted on time? And then eventually they come around and say, oh, I'm so sorry. That happens a lot more often than I would like. I don't know if everybody else experiences that, but it's very weird how this keeps on happening to me, how I keep getting zeros and low grades that I didn't actually get. Well, I always have to get clarification from them, like why this happened when it shouldn't have happened. I don't know, I just find it kind of weird how my grades just keep getting messed up here and they never got messed up in other places that I've been to. Another thing that I really can't stand over here is working in groups with people. This didn't happen at other colleges, but all of a sudden when I move here, it happens a lot more frequently, and that's working with group projects. I've had quite a few group projects within the health science courses, and my partners, they usually seem pretty reluctant to work with me. They're all white. I'm always the only black person there, except for one time. That project went off without a hitch. Strange, I know. As far as content goes, quantifiably, I would provide more content. I'd cite more sources. I would add more length to the paper and whatnot, have more examples, and all these kind of things, and I'd really dig deep in my assignments. And a lot of times, my group members, who are usually white females, they would give me very low marks on the peer evaluation compared to how they viewed themselves. Even though I did most of the work, I contributed more than anybody else. I orchestrated everything. I tried to make sure that everybody's on the same page. But then all of a sudden, I get like a 1 out of a 4 for participation when I participated more than anybody. And that happened quite a bit. And it always happens with the same partners, usually when it's all white females. But that's just how it is over here. Another thing that bothers me about USD is that it's really obsessed with image over substance, especially when it talks about diversity. They like taking pictures of black people and posting it on social media, but then you never see black people in those upper level graduate schools. So your PAs, your doctors, your physical therapists, it's white. Like there's no real diversity in there. And I know they're applying, but they're not getting in, which is kind of weird. But they love taking pictures of us and putting it on social media to give this image that this college is more accepting than it really is. It's also very annoying how students here at the University of South Dakota are so comfortable with being openly racist around their peers on campus in a professional environment. One example I had is I was walking home from one of my classes once, and there was a group of people talking, all of them white, no black people whatsoever. So one of them looks at me as I'm approaching, and then this girl who had her back turned to me, she points behind herself and she says, "Hey, there's another one." And as I'm walking past and still within earshot, she goes, "God, I wish they'd go back to fucking Nigeria." Well, obviously that kind of rubs me the wrong way because I'm not from Nigeria. I was literally born here in the U.S. I paid plenty of taxes here in the U.S. I served the U.S. Army. It rubbed me the wrong way, so I approached them and I said, "Excuse me, what did you say?" And of course, they all turn around and they ignore, and then eventually they point to this direction and they go, "Let's just go over here." And then they walk away. Yeah, that kind of stuff happens pretty often over here. That's not the first time that happened. That actually happened last semester. So yeah, that happens a lot. You'll hear a lot of people on campus voicing their disdain for pretty much black men in general. So yep, that's what it's like being over here, at least from my perspective. I would say don't, unless you're an athlete, you got a full ride and it's free college, or unless you have a lot of friends and family in the area, because you're going to need social support because it's very socially isolated as a black male, unless you're a popular athlete or something like that. Unless you have one of those, I would just take a hard pass and I would save my money, do a little bit more planning, and most importantly, save your mental health, because this place is not this is not a good place for black men like myself. This place will definitely drain you, and you're not going to have the social support that you really need to get through this, unless you're like an exceptionally mentally strong person, which, let's be honest, most people aren't. You're going to have a tough time dealing with the social isolation, the hostile and second-class citizen treatment, and just the lack of relatability. I would say just go to an HBCU where you can get treated like a human being instead of the enemy, or at the very most a pet. That's pretty much all I got for you. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a lot of retaliation. I'm pretty sure job offers are going to get rescinded. I'm pretty sure grad school here is out of the question after this video, because I dare to speak my opinion and my experience. I look forward to all the retaliation. Hopefully get some good false accusations going against me and all that kind of good stuff. Like I said, I've got nothing to lose by sharing my experience, but somebody else going through this situation might gain something. So that's pretty much it for the video. Feel free to tell me in the comments section I'm a big stupid idiot because my experience differs from yours. All right, take it easy.